Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome to our next webinar with the topic Busch-Presence detector KNX. My name is Thorsten Reibel. I'm sitting here together, as always, with Jürgen Schilder. And we have today also two other colleagues at Busch-Jaeger in Lüdenscheid. It's Ilya Zivadinovic, who will take most of the webinar today. He sits together with Thorsten Teves, the responsible product manager, who will help us to answer your questions. So, of course, we will talk about the Busch-Presence detector KNX with the overview of the product, with some technical features. There's also a new component behind, the corridor version. And we will go also into the ETS to show you some parameters of the product. And there's also a nice app behind to make a bus update. Okay, I hand over now to Ilya. He will start right now.
Hello together from my side, and welcome from my side. Welcome you for the webinar. As Thorsten mentioned, next to me is sitting Thorsten Teves. He is the product manager for the presence detectors. I will divide this presentation in two parts. The first part is to show you some slides, some global introduction about the family of the presence detector. The second part is to go more or less live in ETS and to show you the main important and wonderful applications. So, as Thorsten mentioned, please feel free and type your question inside the chat box. Next to me, wonderful welcome to Thorsten Teves, our product manager. He will support me this day. And yeah, let's start with a presentation and with a small overview about the Busch-Presence detectors. So if we're talking about presence detectors, we of course have motivations for presence detectors, and we have also targets. What is our motivation? Our motivation is, of course, to follow the constantly growing market, especially in commercial buildings. In commercial buildings, where presence detectors becomes more and more important, and you need more or less for, I don't know how many different applications you have in a commercial buildings. You need really here a tailor-suit solutions. And here in this segment, we are facing more and more competitors, so we need also to strengthen our position. And that's why we have a very, very wonderful family of presence detectors. Our target is, of course, to be best in class, to give our presence detectors some special new application for cost efficiency, for comfort, for security. And we have also changed the design. If you compare this to our very, very previous presence detectors, here we have a very, very flat aesthetic design. Yeah, leading technology, reliable and efficiency. Presence detectors are mandatory to fulfill the needs of modern buildings. More and more application in the building needs here a tailor-suit solution. If you can imagine, in a building you have offices. You need a special application for offices. You have conference rooms. You have lobbies. You have halls, high ceiling rooms, and especially in hotel segment, you have a very special application where you need a special presence detectors for very long hallways, floors, something like that. For that, we have brought out several new presence detectors. Maybe you know our typical presence detector. We have, let me say, the presence detector in a basic size version. We have a presence detector in a mini version, both as basic and premium. I will mention a little bit more later. We launched several time ago also the Sky, KNX movement detector Sky, for very, very high ceilings. And now a happy welcome in the presence detector family, the corridor KNX presence detector. This presence detector is specially made for long floors, long hallways, and for that kind of application. This presence detector is already available. We have the application, we have the presence detector, so you can use it immediately. Let's have a little bit, or let's have a closer look to the single presence detectors. Here, the first presence detector is a presence detector mini KNX. We have this presence detector in a basic and a premium version. Here you can see the presence detector has a very, very flat design. We are talking here about 60 millimeter visible high from the ceiling. So it is very, very flat. And we have in, if you see how small this presence detector is, a very, very huge detection range. In an installation height of 3 meters, we are talking here about 8 meter detection range. So this is a very, very powerful presence detector. All presence detectors here comes with some special applications. One very special application is to power off stage. The power off stage follows a core declaration. To describe a little bit the core declaration is here describing energy performance of buildings, impact of building automation controls and building management. This regulation describes the estimation of energy saving in relation to energy ratings. In sum, we are talking about control of HVAC, and now we are also talking about controlling of illumination. And the standards describes a so-called two-stage off application. That means if you have an illuminated area and there is no detection inside this area, there is a need not to completely shut off the light. The application or the declaration describes, okay, shut it then down to 20%. And after 5 minutes, further 5 minutes with no movement, then and only then go completely to switch off. So you need 2 delay times. You have an integrated monitor function. The monitor function is for surveillance applications. If you have an alarm system and you're using this, for instance, as a motion detector, and you want to avoid some fatal alarms, what you can do is to open a time frame or a time window of around about 30 seconds, just for an example, and to say, okay, if in this 30 seconds is movement for 15 seconds, then and only then turn or go activate. This is the integrated monitor functionality, but I will show it a little bit closer in the application. The difference between basic and premium: basic is very reduced to what you need in really as a basic version in your application. You have here 2 channels. 2 channels means you have 2 software presence detector in 1 physical device, and you have 2 constant light switches. Constant light switches means really the constant light to switch in on and off. The difference here to premium: the premium has 4 channels. 4 channels, of course, also 4 constant light switches, but the premium has also the constant light controller. That means in combination with a dimmer, you can use it in combination with a dimmer, and you say, okay, I want a constant illumination of 400 lux, so he is able to control and hold it in combination with a dimmer to exactly plus minus 400 lux. 2 channels here means 2 by 2 channels means you can also use this in an application in a classroom, for instance, where you have 2 light circuits to control them independently in brackets. And the premium one has also, of course, HVAC functionalities, but the most important benefit here is an integrated room temperature controller. That means if you think about an office application, You only need one device. Here is a full integrated room temperature controller, so you don't need inside the room a further one. And the room temperature controller follows our so-called unified RTC standard. That means you have here the same functionality like in our standard sensoric and in our other products. The premium comes also with interface, IR interface with 12/24 channels. 12/24 comes because if you remember our ABB/Busch remote control, you have 10 buttons plus 2 buttons M1, M2, and you can switch the remote control between white and blue channel. And here this is in some 24 channels. Here, the IR interface you can use in combination with the remote control to control other components in your KNX systems. The presence detector comes also with an internal bright sensor, but it has also two brightness sensor inputs. If you have external brightness sensor, you can use them as well, and to bring them in, or to, how can I say it, to weight them. What is more important, and to sum them. And you have 5 internal logic channels if you need this, for instance, gates or and or functionality, something like that. The next one is the presence detector, not the mini one. The, let me say in brackets, basic size one, or the regular size one. The only difference is here, the application is completely the same. The only difference is here, you have 12 meter presence detection at a 3 meter installation height. And here the visible height is a little bit more. Here we are talking not about 60 millimeter, here we are talking about 23 millimeter, but still very, very flat. The next presence detector is our Busch Watchdog Sky. This is not more made for office and room application. It is more made for high halls, high rooms. Here, typically, the application for this one is an installation height of 12 meters in a gym or in a sports hall, something like that. Here we have not a basic and a premium. Here we have only the premium, the basic version with 2 channels, but we are also supporting here the 2 power stage, 2 power off stage, the integrated monitor functions, and we have here a constant light switch also with 2 outputs. And if you want to program this presence detector, you don't need to push, let me show this button here to bring them into programming mode. What you can do is to use our ABB/Busch remote control. Here on the remote control, you have a red button. If you press the red button, you can activate and deactivate the programming mode. This works not only for the Busch Watchdog Sky, it also works for the premium versions of the presence detectors. The new one in the family is our Busch-Presence corridor detector. Here, from application point of view, if you know the other one, the other basic and premium version, here is everything is almost complete the same parametration, the same application. The only differences here is we have a different detection range. Here we are talking about 30 meter in an installation height of 3 meter. That means exactly for floors. About the detection range, I have later a slide to show it a little bit more accurate. But here, the same 2 power off stage, integrated monitor function, the basic one with 2 channels, 2 constant light switches, the premium version with the extended functionalities. And one difference here is also in the other presence detectors, we have here a so-called sectors, sector 1, sector 2, sector 3, and 4. And these 4 sectors can be activated or deactivated independently and separate. Here is the difference. This one and this one, the both sectors here and the both sectors here are initially, and you cannot change it, grouped. That means combination between sector 1, sector 2, sector 3, and sector 4. So this is the only difference here. All presence detectors comes with an integrated spring. This spring you can use for cavity sealings for easy installation. But if you have concrete walls or you need to install it flush mounted, we have the surface flush mounting boxes for the presence detector mini, and here for the presence detector regular size watchdog and the corridor detector here. What I want to mention is the presence detectors do not fit inside a VDE or BS box. For that, you need a special box. I will show it a little bit later, or tell you a little bit later about that boxes. Absolutely, and this is I cannot mention it often enough. Aesthetics and functionality. This combination is here perfectly combined. All our presence detector follows the same look and feel, the same flat design, being present without being seen, because we have a lot of interior application hotels, so we need here to be very, very aesthetic. But we try to do it as flat as possible, but we have here still a high resolution presence detectors, and we have here not a low resolution movement detectors. So this is very important to mention. In color and shape, the shape is more or less the same, but in colors, the colors here for the housing comes in white and comes in aluminum silver. This depends on the presence detectors and for what application you need them. We have a milky lens and we have a black lens, and the sky and the corridor comes with a transparent lens. I have a picture here to show it a little bit more. Here you can see the mini, the presence detector, the sky only in white color, because here the typical application, it's not inside a room or inside an interior room. It is more for high ceilings, 12 meters. But here the corridor, of course, we have here the colors in white and aluminum silver, but only with a transparent lens. The reason is we have here a range of 30 meters, and we need the absolutely clear lens for that. Here's the flash mounting boxes, surface mounting boxes, and if you want to have flush mounted installation, so here you can find our recommendation of typical boxes you can find inside the market to use these boxes for flush mounted installation. One important hint is here fits not into VDE if you are inside the VDE market. So here we have also an adapter ring, more or less an adapter ring, where you can also install it on a VDE box. So this is new. Detection overview, presence detector mini, and watchdog. For this presence detector and this presence detector, here we have two detection range. We have per definition, we have a sitting application and we have a walking application. So that means sitting, if we are talking here about 8 meter and 5 meters here for the Mini, we are talking here about a sitting position. Sitting position means this is measured in a height of 0.8 meters from floor. This is a typical average table height. It means this is really a high resolution presence detectors, and the presence detectors will monitor each finger movement. For the Busch Watchdog Sky, this is not made for office application. Here we are talking about walking, and the typical installation is here 12 meters with a detection range of 24 meters. A little bit different is the Busch-Presence detector corridor KNX. Here a small schematic about the detection range. Here is a Mini, here's a normal size. You can see it is circle, so it's a round detection range. Here's a corridor. It's because of the application. It's more a rectangular detection range. Here we are talking about maximum of 30 meters in length and 3 meters in width. Here is also what is important is, if you see this picture here, is to is the proper direction of the lenses. Here you need to consider that. That means if you see the lenses here and you see the lenses here, it must show in the direction of your walking. Yeah? And what is also very important, but this is for all movement detectors, for all presence detectors, the best effect or the best detection range you have if you are crossing tangential. Of course, if you are crossing frontal like this one, this can reduce the detection range. Here, for example, an installation eye of 3 meters, we are talking here of maximum 20 meters in width, in length. But if I don't want to go deeper, if you see our technical handbook, in our technical handbook, you will find a lot of drafts, a lot of recommendations, and a lot of hints how to install, how to combine two presence detectors, how to arrange them inside the floor. So there you will find a more accurate description. Function overview, the most I have mentioned. The most important is, yes, the corridor is new, but if you are used to handle our typical or well-known presence detector, you need nothing new to learn. The only difference is here. You have here not 4 sectors, you have here 2 pairs. That means 2 sectors in combination, if you want. This is here the only difference, and of course the range, detection range and shape. Let's come to some technical details. Here's some technical details. This is only an example how the internal arrangement here of the detectors is. Here we have inside 4 PIR sensors. We have an inside, not inside, sorry. We have brightness sensor sitting here outside. This is very important in comparison to our very previous one. So this gives you a very accurate value of the brightness. So then we have an IR receiver here, and we have the programming button. You can press here to bring it into programming mode. But please remember, for the premium version, for the Sky and for the corridor, you can use the red button of our remote control. And we have here a programming LED. That means if you bring it into a programming mode, the LED here will be illuminated. The LED comes also with an own communication object. That means if you have a security system, you can use this LED to indicate if your system is armed or not. For instance, it's only an example. And of course, I mentioned it, we have a full integrated room temperature controller, and here, of course, also integrated room temperature controller, room temperature sensor, sorry. The internal arrangement here, to have a closer look on the 4 PIR system. Here we have digital PIRs. This gives us is more beneficial in comparison to analog PIRs because analog are more or not that accurate. The interferences can also have negative effects. So this is why we have here digital PIRs, more accurate. You can amplify it a little bit better without amplifying interferences and white noises. This is in comparison to other presence detectors, this is very a USP, a very benefit. The reflector system, of course, here only an example. Just to show what is the reflector system here inside doing. If you see this here, this is a detection range and the dispersion of one sensor inside with 4 sensors and with our mirror system. The 4 PIRs acts like you have 16 here inside. That means here you have a complete and an optimum of dispersion. This is also very important. That means to detect a movement, you need to cross one complete sector of blue and red to have here a positive and a negative wave. And our recommendation is always, if you want to install presence detectors, please make sure the optimum is if you are crossing tangential. This gives you the optimum detection range. To make it here a little bit clearer, yes, we have talked about the sensors. Here, typically, our presence detectors have 1, 2, 3, 4 sectors. You can separately activate and deactivate them. The only difference is here our presence detector corridor. Here, the lenses 1 and 2, or PIRs 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are here combined as a group. This is very necessary to have this, and you need to consider this. Some details about the lenses. We have here a so-called Fresnel lens. Fresnel lens is has a lot of more benefits and features in comparison to a plane convex lens. Plane convex lens is a typical lens you can find on your glasses. This lens, this Fresnel lens, is much more thinner than the typical lens. That means you have a reduced of materials. That means if you have a reduction of materials, you have less interferences, you have less absorptions inside the material, and it makes the presence detector much more accurate. Here, this slide, because they often ask us, okay, why you have a milky one, why you have a transparent one and a black one. The milky one and the black one is more for the aesthetics, because we have a lot application in hotel rooms where you need to follow the interior design concept of the interior designer. And milky, because if you it comes from the request from the market in hotel application. The typical guests do not know what is a presence detectors, and if you have a transparent lens, they think, or they can think there is an video camera inside. This we need to avoid. This is why it's here milky. But if you comes from the engineering side and you say, okay, black is less sensitive than the milky one, this is not true. You have here no reduction in absorption. So both are very, very accurate. Yeah. The transparency here lens, you will find them, of course, this is the best lens. There is no absorption of IR signals. This you will only find on our sky and on our corridor. Yeah, bus updates. That's all for now for the presence detectors. What is also new is our bus update. The bus update is a tool. It's a tool from it's an ETS app. You can go into to ETS webpage. You can go to the shop and search for KNX bus update, and you will find a small app/plugin for your ETS. It is free of charge. You can download it in combination, of course, with your license, and you can install it. And what you then can do is to do the firmware update of presence detectors. Initially for presence detectors for now over the bus. How it works, I show it directly live. Let me switch here to my desktop. Before I start to show a little bit more about the main application of the presence detector, I want you to show you at first, if you have once downloaded the bus update tool from ETS and you have installed it inside the ETS, where to find it. If you go under extras, you will find here a Dropbox or drop-down menu with KNX bus update. If you click on that, a new window get open. Inside this window, you have the possibility, it depends on the project and what kind of devices you have in your project. You can select here your presence detector, for instance here, and say, okay, inside my ETS project, I have a presence detector. Here, don't be irritated about the status offline. I am here offline. If you are logged inside the ETS project live, you will see here online, and the update tool will automatically detect the firmware version of the presence detector, for instance. Then what you can do is to say, okay, update to version here, mark the proper version, and click on firmware update. That's all. This is an update tool for updating the firmware over the bus. Now let me show you a little bit more about the main application. What I did is I have imported the Busch-Presence detector corridor, the premium version, because here is a little bit more to show the application. As I mentioned, you have here 4 channels. 4 channels means you have 4 presence detectors inside one physical device, which can work independently. And what you can do here is, if I select the first channel presence detector and go to common parameter, you can choose the application of the presence detector. We have several applications. We have sensor, constant light switch, and of course, constant light controller in the premium version. And the sensor here, if you use it only as a sensor, as a movement detector in brackets, you can select what kind of output type it is. If you can imagine, if you have a huge room, a large room, big room, like a conference room, maybe you need more than one presence detectors. That means what you can do is to say, okay, I designate one as a master and the other as a slave. The master is that kind of presence detector who is doing all the controls. The slave, you can see here, also on the master, what you can do is to select also what kind of output of data type you want to select. 1 bit is not very spectacular, but what you can also do is to say, okay, by detection, don't send on off like 1 bit. You can also send a byte, or you can even start also directly scene by giving here the correct number. And what you also can do is inside the premium version, you have also an object RTC, a room temperature controller, or maybe you have an external one. Over 1 byte object, you can change the operation mode of RTC by detecting the presence. That's the possibilities what you can do here under the sensor, the master. And if I switch to slave, you can see here, it is very, very reduced. That means the sensor as a slave is only giving the input to the master. Is there any detection in this area or not? In some previous slides, I have also mentioned the survey functionality. If I select here the sensor, and if I go to here and enable the extended parameters, go to yes, you have here more possibilities. Under extended parameters, you can here say, okay, what kind of operation mode do I want? Typically, by previous setting is automatic. You have automatic switch off, switch on. And here is the mentioned survey function. The survey function here is what you are doing is you are opening here a time window for maybe 30 seconds, and you want to say, okay, if there is any movement in this time frame, please trigger or please do an action, but only then if you have a minimum monitoring of detection of 50%. That means in this case 50 minutes. To make it a little bit more visible, I have prepared a slide to show it a little bit more in detail. Maybe it is difficult to understand. This function is more for if you have an including alarm system, for instance, and you will monitor an area. And just to avoid fail alarms, what you can do is to say, okay, to avoid fail alarms, here I'm opening a time frame of a window of 30 seconds, and I say within this 30 seconds, minimum activity 50%, 15 seconds, and only then send an on at the output. That means this here indicates the movement. For instance, here 4 seconds, the presence detector will do nothing. Here, of course, can be gaps between the movements. Then here in some you have 7 seconds, nothing will happen. Further 7 seconds, nothing will happen because we are now in some on 40 seconds. And only if the presence detector detects 50 seconds within this time frame, then the output goes to on. This is the survey function. You have also here the possibility, choice of sensors. Maybe you remember, as I mentioned in some slides before, so typically our presence detectors do have 4 PIRs, 4 sectors, which you can enable or disable each single sectors. Here is the difference to the corridor. The corridor here you have only 2 areas you can switch on, switch off, because we have combined here a complete 2 sectors, sector 1 and 2, sector 3 and 4. Here what you can do is to change the sensitivity, high, medium, low, or of course you can switch a complete area off. One nice feature is if you select, for instance, let me say here's a light controller, and we want to realize the 2-stage off functionality. It means this application is if you say, okay, I need a 2-stage switch off application in a building. That means if the detector detects no movement, reduce the light to 20%. Then after further 5 minutes, without movement, switch off the light totally. That means what you need is, and this application is only available under the sensor and under the light controller in the premium version. If you have a basic version, then you have the same application within the sensor. I select here the light controller, and please make sure that your output is here 1 byte. The reason is you need to send to the dimmer 20%. Under extended parameters, make sure it is enabled here. You have the possibility to say, okay, use two-stage switch off, say yes, and here is the value of the brightness. That means for the dimmer 20%. And here the second delay time. That means within 5 minutes, the presence detector will reduce, and no movement, the presence detector will reduce the brightness to 20%. And if in this time, in further 5 minutes, is no movement detected, he will switch automatically the light off. This is the two-stage switch off functionality. The next, what is very, very nice, is the brightness detection. The brightness detection, you have here internally a brightness sensor, but one very nice feature is the correction of internal brightness. What you can do is to say, okay, I want to do a calibration. You have 3 possibilities to say, okay, with daylight adjustment or adjustment with artificial light. That means you are calibrating here, for instance, the internal brightness sensor. If I go to the group objects, you see here, I have a brightness output. Here, the detector, you can use a bus monitor, for instance, to read the brightness value, what the detector is monitoring. And perhaps you see here maybe 400 lux, and you have in use a special meter, and your special meter says, okay, it's not 400, it is 410, for instance. What you then can do is to say over the bus monitor, over this object, or you can use also a group address to send the new value of 410 lux, for instance. Then the movement, the presence detector will internally automatically calculate the brightness with the new given value. The next is if you say, okay, I using light controller, and I want also do the adjustment with artificial light. Here you have 2 possibilities to say, okay, daylight with artificial light adjustment for output 1 and output 2. Maybe you remember if you have an application like a schoolroom, where do you have 2 light circuits? Here for each light circuits, you can do the adjustment. Here, only for an example, I'm selecting here daylight and artificial light adjustments, and I bring the presence detector here to constant light controller, and under the constant light controller and extended parameter, I have here the object to say use object for brightness calibration. Yes. Now you have a further object. It is let me see here. Here, what you can do is to say, okay, I starting the adjustment also for the output in combination with the dimmer. That means what you can do is to say, okay, I'm sending a value and starting the calibration process. That means the presence detector will send to the dimmer a 100% signal. Then he will monitor, okay, I know the daylight, then I know the value of 100% artificial light. Then he will monitor this and store the value. Then he will reduce the dimming light to 90%. monitor and detect the value, then to 80, 70, and so on till 0. And he will internally store an own calibration curve. That means now the presence detector knows how much I need to reduce or to increase or decrease the dimming value to hold the brightness in a room, for instance, for 400 lux. This is a very, very nice feature here and easy to calibrate. The next is we have here an internal object RTC. That means you have here a complete room temperature controller. In some application, maybe offices where you have a presence detector in use, you don't need a further room temperature controller. You have here 2 devices in one presence detectors. Here, the RTC, if you say, okay, let me activate the application. What you can do is to select here the device functionality, say master or here temperature transmitter. That means it's only a slave. And if you have no combination of this, you can of course say single device. Then what you can do, we have here different control functions. We have heating, we have cooling, we have heating and cooling. It depends on the pipe system you have installed in your building. And we have heating with additional heating and cooling with additional stage. That means here, for instance, you have 2 independent heating circuits you can control. Under control heating, you have control types. What kind? You have here pulse width modulation, continuously modulation, 2-point and fan coil value type controls. And this is very, very nice, is under your additional heating, stage heating, you have here the same types of controls. That means what you can do is to establish and to realize 2 independent circuits for regulating the heating or cooling, which can work independently. But I don't want to go deeper into object RTC. We have for that we have special description. Yeah, the logic functions and IR functions. This is also nothing new. You can activate or deactivate them and say, okay, here what you can do is selecting the application. If you are used to our sensors, for instance, KNX sensors, this is completely the same. So I think I have here showed you the most important application of the presence detector. I hope you have enjoyed the webinar. Yeah, bye-bye and take care.
Yeah, thank you, Ilya, for this nice summary and presentation of these powerful Busch-Presence detectors KNX with a new version for the corridors. So I have some final slides for all of us. I would like to highlight again our training and qualification database, where we always insert all our let me say training content, not only the webinar slides and the webinar recording, but also further tutorials and presentations. Please have a look. It will be always extended and updated, and it's a big collection of information, of content you can use anytime if you want, and can learn something about building automation, not only KNX, also related to Free at Home, to our door entry system, and of course also to KNX. Yeah, then small information about our continuously running certified trainings. We have every year here in Heidelberg at ABB Stadtkontakt. So the basic course, certified basic course, will take place at the beginning of April, 3rd to 7th of April. So if you want, or somebody of your customers would like to participate here, please come back to us. These 5 days certified basic course, and it will be followed by the advanced course in July, as always. And if somebody needs to be a tutor, and also in October we have our tutor course. So these official certified courses we will run here as every year here in Heidelberg. Yeah, and then of course we have more trainings, sometimes country-related trainings, but also trainings related to any special topic. So also this is existing here. Come back to us if you're interested in, and both here in Heidelberg, but also in Lüdenscheid it's possible. Good. I mentioned already our next webinar will deal with the IBAS tool, which is also very powerful additional tool we have here within ABB. It is also always updated, and we would like to give you a summary of all the features we have right now in this tool. And it will be also a big part of it will be a practical demonstration of all these functions with various devices. So if you would like to have a complete updated information about the IBAS tool, please participate. Good. Yeah, that's all from my side. So again, I don't see any further questions here in the chat. So then we say thank you for participation. Again, you get the feedback email with the recorded video and the presentation slide. And also I will summarize especially the question from the morning session where we had some more questions, and there were some, I think, interesting questions, and of course also answers. I will integrate this into my feedback email. So thank you, goodbye. See you at the 29th of March if you want, together with the IBAS tool webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.